Welcome to the channel. Today I'm gonna tell you about the movie, Paradise. In the future, to pay off a loan, people pay years of their lives. The movie begins with an advertisement suggesting that in the not-too-distant future, poor people with suitable DNA compatibility sell biological years of life to rich donors in the Ion Corporation. Max, the company's manager, convinces an overage teenager from illegal migrants to sell 15 years of life for 700,000 euros. The money received will be enough to get his family out of a poor neighborhood where they have been waiting 20 years for a visa, as well as to play a wedding with the girl he loves. To rub in the trust, Max tells how he himself handed over 5 years to a rich man. He walks through a refugee camp sprawled into a full-fledged city to the subway, where he watches older people partying with younger peers. And on the other side of the window, the refugee camp stretches to the horizon. In front of the office, Max sees a picket of disgruntled people dissatisfied with the time transfer program. It allows the rich to live almost forever, using the poor as donor material. Inside the building, there is an important ceremony. Max is announced as the company's most effective manager. His donors have brought the company 276 years of life in the last quarter. Sophie Tyson, the owner of the company that developed the time transfer technology, comes up on stage. She tells that in addition to 10,000 rich people financing Ion, the company will provide services to Nobel Prize winners at the expense of a special fund. At this time, in the special clinic of Ion, the first scientists with rich people are going through the adaptation procedure. Suddenly, one of the orderlies pulls out a gun, shoots a woman. He walks down the corridor, killing everyone who received someone else's time. The shooter draws on the wall the symbol of the Atom Group, radicalized opponents of this technology. Kaya, Sophie's bodyguard, reports the incident. She hires a new head of security, a former cop named Novak, to investigate. Meanwhile, Max and his wife Ellen are planning a future life in a luxurious apartment for which the loan is still outstanding. Max wants to buy a lake house to raise their children there. On weekends, they visit Ellen's parents. His wife's father does not approve of Max's work for Ion because ordinary people have become expendable for the rich. On the way back, the spouses almost quarrel, but everything is bypassed. At home, however, they are in other trouble. A fire broke out in the apartment, destroying everything they had. The insurance company believes the fire was caused by a candle left out by Ellen, which is negligence, not insurance. The bank wants to charge Ellen for the 40 years of her life she mortgaged for the loan. Max wants to split the debt, but it turns out his donor was killed in an accident. On their way out, the couple are stopped by the police to detain Ellen. She is now a debtor. Max asks Sophie Tyson at work for an advance of 3 million euros to close the debt. She promises to help an efficient manager. Sophie then goes to the board of directors, where everyone is young and beautiful. The clever managers are not interested in scientific inquiry, they want profit. On the day of the foreclosure, Max and his lawyer go to the clinic Ion, but he is not allowed to see his wife. Noticing the open door, he runs inside, but there he is caught by Kaya. The guards take him to the waiting room while Ellen is being prepared for the procedure. After the operation, they go to a new apartment in a poor neighborhood. Ellen doesn't sleep well, getting up in the middle of the night to look in the mirror. Aging takes a while. In the morning, Max receives word of a promotion at work. Noticing the supervisor, he runs after her to ask her why she didn't help. You can see by the look on her face that she has gone through rejuvenation herself. Max realizes that 40 years of his life has been given to her. By evening, his wife reaches her final aging. A returning Max sees her putting on makeup in front of the mirror. Out of chagrin, Ellen asks him to leave. Max drinks beer on a bench, thinking how to live on. Later, it turns out that his wife was hospitalized from time transfer. She had a miscarriage. Max takes his wife to her parents, thinking how to fix everything. He follows a little girl who is taking pills in the yard. He realizes that she has gone through a rejuvenation procedure, and illegally. He needs the underground doctor's contacts. Once he has them, Max uses his connections and remaining savings to buy new documents and a gun. Then he follows Sophie Tyson. The woman, leaving the guards behind, goes there alone. Max decides to take advantage of the opportunity. Having driven the car aside, he climbs over the fence. By the grave in the center, he finds Sophie. She's even younger. Sophie calls for help, but to no avail. After a brief struggle, Max knocks her out with an electric shock and carries her body away. He goes after his wife, convincing her to come with him. He has a plan. upon reaching an abandoned parking garage away from the city. Max shows the bound Sophie and offers to go to Lithuania to turn back the clock on her. Meanwhile, Kaya and Novak begin to investigate the kidnapping. The ex-cop finds Max, but he cleverly disguises his tracks. Nevertheless, they manage to locate him. While the spouses argue about the antiquity of the return of the taken time, private security prepares to capture the kidnapper. The operatives enter the building, but do they find Max's car? Kaya connects an illegal surveillance tool to the search, including a camera hack of personal accounts. Novak wants to get close to the bodyguard, but it turns out she's much older than she looks. Sophie makes sure the loyal servant lives as long as she does. Soon, someone posts selfies that show an aged Ellen in the background. On his side of the steamer, Max has a captive woman tied up in a van. However, the plan is on the verge of going awry when they see police lights at the marina. Max's gaze clings to a passing family, and a new idea matures in his head. At the harbor exit, the border guards are checking cars. Max's van is driven by a man. His wife drives the passenger car while Max himself and their daughter hide in the trunk, threatening them with a gun. Ellen and Sophie take shelter in a bathtub carried in the van. The border guard asks the driver to open the back of the van and then the box with the bathtub, but he is too nervous. When a senior officer shows up, the driver admits he's not used to being in the crosshairs, and the officer lets the van pass. After driving away, Max releases the captives by smashing their phones and shooting the wheels of the car so they won't report to the police too quickly. Pulling off the highway, the couple lets the captive go to the bathroom. The girl says her name is Marie. She is Sophie Tyson's youngest daughter. Her mother deliberately concealed her existence to avoid kidnapping. Max doesn't believe the girl, thinking it's a trick. After sending a signal to the doctor, they move to an abandoned hotel to wait for notification of the meeting place. The girl is dragged out of the van. She keeps saying her name is Marie. Ellen fears that passing the time back won't work because of the difference in DNA, but Max realizes that next of kin are usually interchangeable. Marie asks permission to take a shower. Max unties the girl. She seizes the moment, hits him with the door handle, and escapes grabbing his phone. The man rushes after her, but not in time. The girl escapes into the night woods. She reaches a river, beyond which another abandoned hotel can be seen. The girl manages to call Kaya, but immediately drops the phone into the water and then sinks up to her neck. The mire slowly consumes the fugitive and she decides to call for help. Back to the hotel with the girl, Ellen takes her to the shower, where she notices the absence of scars from the operation. Kaya and Novak figure out their location. The sleeping Max and Ellen are awakened by Adam's armed men. They take them to the leader, who is convinced that Sophie is not Sophie, but her daughter. The leader tells them that Sophie deliberately arranged the arson and death of Max's time recipient in order to frame Ellen and get her time. It is difficult for her to find another donor because of her specific DNA, but the ringleader does not approve of the idea of returning the stolen years through Marie. She suggests Ellen kill the girl because her life is valued less. Pointing the gun, Ellen thinks briefly and puts the gun on the floor. The gang has a plan. They take Max to the first floor. Ion will be arriving here soon. The man is tasked with luring Sophie into the building unguarded. As the soldiers pull up, Max exits the building at gunpoint. He demands a private meeting with Sophie. She gets out of the armored car. The former manager convinces her that all he and his wife need to do is get justice and then no one will get hurt. To make sure Marie is alive, Sophie needs to enter the building. The president agrees, but as she takes her first steps, Kaya asks Max how he knew Sophie was here too. Max doesn't know what to say. Kaya realizes it's a trap. Adam's leader commands a double agent to eliminate Sophie. He shoots President Ion, immediately getting a couple of bullets from Kaya. Adam's group, who are trapped in the building, open fire to finish Sophie off, but the soldiers shoot back and carry the body away. A firefight ensues between the two groups. A terrified Max sneaks back into the building and goes in search of his wife. Grabbing his wife and Marie, he runs to the car left in the garage. While he fiddles with the ignition, the girl pulls a gun on Ellen and pulls the trigger, but it is not loaded. The angry woman beats the girl unconscious, after which the bound Marie is shoved into the back seat. The couple leave for the doctor's appointment, with a few hours to go. Opinions of the heroes change. Max realizes that the girl is not guilty of anything and does not want to take away her time. But Ellen thinks otherwise. She was deceived and she wants to get hers back. The couple quarrels. Stopping the car, Ellen grabs a knife and tells her husband to get out or she will slit her throat. Ellen drives off, reaching an abandoned factory where trucks carrying equipment and busloads of kidnapped refugees are arriving. She returns to the car for the bound girl. In the morning, Marie is found on the road by a trucker. Max arrives at the refugee camp and heads inside. At the airfield, the medics bring in a wounded Marie. Kaya takes her to her mother, who was wearing a bulletproof vest. The bodyguard tells her boss that she will no longer organize accidents and arson for her, and then leaves. The next day at home, Marie wakes up aged. She wants youth back, but her mother does not agree to share. She promises to find another suitable donor while she needs the strength for her work. Sometime later, Max is standing on the beach looking at the shore. A pregnant Ellen meets her new husband. She turns around and sees Max in the distance, who turns around and walks away. He gets into a car from a convoy nearby, who drive to the nearest time transfer clinic, wearing a mask with the band symbol Atom on it. This is where the movie ends.